Okay, imagine this. You finish your training, you're done with military service, and you're feeling, well, pretty unsure about what's next.
That kind of uncertainty.
Right. And you apply for a job, not really knowing where you're headed, and somehow you land this position in a field you know absolutely nothing about, baking bread.
Zero experience.
Zero. And it's tough, really demanding, requires skills you just don't have. But then right in the middle of it all, something, I don't know, inherited, a hidden ability pops up, helps someone out.
Okay.
And then something really wild, almost mystical according to the source, happens.
Yeah.
And suddenly overnight, you just understand this complex craft.
It's quite a story. The sources you shared, they really taint this picture where life throws these massive curveballs, but those become the very things that, reveal these hidden depths.
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive into the story of Ah Hsi. He's a Japanese baker. And his journey, well, it challenges pretty much everything we think we know about learning skill, even destiny.
And we're pulling this straight from the source materials you provided. His unusual start, this surprising skill emerging, the unique way he mastered baking, and then this really difficult choice he had to make.
Right. Our mission here is to unpack all of that, go beyond just the story itself and dig into the insights, the takeaways about resilience, learning differently, maybe even healing, and how destiny might work.
Looking for those nuggets of knowledge hidden in this really singular narrative.
Okay, let's jump in. He'd finished Western baking training, but after military service, he was feeling, well, adrift.
Yeah, uncertain.
So he applies to the Fuang Hotel, maybe thinking general kitchen work. But somehow, he gets hired by Tuku Bread. It's a brand within a Shinkong Mitsukoshi department store.
A place he didn't even know.
And here's the kicker. He had never, ever made bread before getting this bread baking job.
Wow, talk about a pivot, right? So he moves from Taipei to Taichung for this, and he's immediately thrown right into the deep end. It's a big department store opening, total chaos.
Yeah.
And the source really hammers home the conditions, especially the workspace. A 7-degree C cold room, 7 degrees Celsius.
Easy.
It actually describes the work as bone-chilling dough torture.
Bone-chilling dough torture. Okay, so no experience, new city, freezing cold room, chaotic opening. What did the source say about his attitude? How did he handle all that?
Well, this is where it gets fascinating. It's how he reacted. The source is clear. He never complained. Not once.
Really?
Yeah. He seemed to approach it differently, not just as a tough job, but the source uses the word cultivation, like a practice.
Cultivation, like spiritual practice, in a cold room making dough.
Kind of. That kneading, the physical work in the cold, it became part of his inner state, a discipline. The source gets almost, mystical about his inner world.
Oh, so?
It says when he was quiet, it was as if he was conversing with something. It describes his silence as whispers with light, or even a secret frequency harmonizing with the way of heaven.
Whoa, okay. So he wasn't just enduring it.
No, not passively. He was engaged internally, sort of transforming the harshness through his mindset.
That completely reframes it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't just grit, it was something else. And then in that environment, something happened that showed a whole other side to him.
Yes. And here's where it gets really interesting, like you said. They're in that cold room. Stress levels are high with the opening. And a Japanese master baker, one of the experts there, suddenly collapses. Just goes down. Probably the cold, the exhaustion, tannic everywhere.
Oh, wow. Okay. And Ah Hsi, the source says he just acted intuitively.
Exactly. Intuitively is the word used. Drew on something deeper. And get this, the tools he used. A basin of hot water, a coin, and a pair of hands. That's it.
Hot water, a coin, and his hands. And he did what?
The source says he recalled the master's consciousness.
Recalled consciousness. That's not standard first aid.
Not at all. And it's right then the source drops the other shoe. Ah Hsi mentions, our family runs a traditional Chinese medicine practice for 3 generations.
Ah, okay. So it wasn't random. It was family knowledge.
Inherited knowledge, yeah. His hands describe as having smooth movements and clear, vital energy. Like they were integrating centuries of experience and mysterious methods.
So connecting this, it wasn't just physical. It sounds like energy work, maybe. Did he even know he could do that?
The source says he never boasted about it, never made a big deal of it, but apparently his presence itself felt healing, like a form of healing for the world.
Wow.
And after that, his colleagues saw him totally differently. He became a light in the workplace that couldn't be ignored.
A light.
Yeah. And manager Jiang Qi, the main manager, his testimony is powerful. He said, "From learning baking at 15 to 65, no one had released my fatigue as deeply as him."
And the source says that wasn't just about, like, a good shoulder rub.
No, it clarified it was more than the technique. Something about Ah Hsi's being, his presence just brought this deep peace to the manager, something unprecedented.
Okay, that's huge. He goes from the quiet new guy to this, someone with this hidden, powerful ability right before things got even crazier with the sale.
Exactly, the timing. Shinkong Mitsukoshi anniversary sale, which meant a brutal 7-day buy one, get one free toast promotion.
Buy one, get one free toast for 7 days.
Oh,
man.
Daily production instantly doubled, 800 loaves a day to 1,600.
1,600 loaves.
Oh.
So for Ah Hsi and manager Janky, what was that week like? The source must have described it.
Oh, yeah. It called it a ew, basically. Hellish time. They were working busy from dawn till midnight every single day for a week straight.
Dawn till midnight, just
Yeah.
pure exhaustion.
Total physical and mental drain. And it's right then in that state of absolute exhaustion that the next really extraordinary thing happens.
Okay, set the scene. The manager decides to teach Ah Hsi after all this.
Yeah. The source describes this one afternoon. During that insane week, manager Jiang Qi asks Ah Hsi, probably using Japanese and gestures, do you know how to make bread?
And Ah Hsi, the guy who'd never made bread before this job.
He's honest. He just says, I won't, meaning I don't know how.
That's
And the
right.
manager just smiles and says, I'll teach you. Watch my movements.
All right, here we go. This is where the story gets really, really strange. What happened when Ah Hsi started watching?
It's incredible. The source says, at that exact moment, Ah Hsi heard this voice. Sudden, clear, urgent, right in his ear.
A voice. Just him.
That's how the source puts it. No one else heard it. And the voice kept repeating, quick, look at the master's heavenly gate. Quick, look at the master's heavenly gate.
Heavenly gate, he looked around.
Yeah, saw no one speaking. But the voice came again. He remembered something, maybe from a dream. And he focused his gaze on the very top of the manager's head.
The Tianmen. What does the source say that is?
It describes the Tianmen as the spot on the crown of the head, like a legendary entrance for spiritual communication.
Okay, so this voice tells him to look there. He does. And then what did he feel?
A huge sensation. The source says a surging force injected from Ah Hsi's back of the head, directly hitting the depths of his soul.
Whoa, like an energy transfer.
It sounds like it. He felt totally disoriented, disconnected from everything around him, like he'd slipped into another layer of time and space.
Wow. How long did that last? How did he snap out of it?
It was sudden. He just came back and realized it was midnight. Everyone else was packing up, leaving. He felt like he'd just woken up from a really vivid dream. The voice, the feeling, all gone.
But it wasn't just a dream. It had a real effect, didn't it? Especially that night.
Absolutely. Couldn't sleep. His mind was just racing. The source says every step, proportion, rhythm of bread making automatically appeared in his mind.
Automatically?
Yeah, flooding him like a flood, it says, silently writing itself into his memory all night long.
This just blows my mind. It really makes you ask, is learning always about, practice, repetition, conscious effort?
Or can it be something else? This kind of, direct transmission, a download of knowledge.
Yeah, challenges everything. So the next morning, after this crazy night,
He felt great, refreshed despite everything, went back to work. He and manager Jiang Qi started the baking process again, just the two of them initially.
and this is the moment of truth. Did it actually work?
Pretty much immediately.
Huh.
As they're working, manager Jiang Qi just stops, freezes. He's watching Ah Hsi. And he realizes Ah Hsi's movements, dividing the dough, kneading it, shaping it, they were surprisingly identical to his own. Perfect copies.
Wow. The manager must have been stunned.
You have to imagine. So, seeing this, he waves the other employees away, tells them to leave.
Just the two of them.
Just the two of them. And together, they finish the whole batch. 800 loaves. The source notes they worked in perfect sync, without words, rhythm consistent, minds connected.
No talking needed, just baking together perfectly.
Exactly. And then the manager decides he needs proof, or maybe he wants everyone to see. He gathers all the employees,
Okay.
puts out all 800 loaves they just made, and he asks them, okay, tell me, who made which loaf?
And could they tell?
Not a single person. They couldn't tell them apart. The source says the loaves were completely identical. Texture, size, shape, even the air pockets inside. Indistinguishable.
Unbelievable. What was the manager's reaction then?
He was emotional. According to the source, he shouted, "Kire!"
Kirei. Japanese for
Beautiful.
Hmm.
Yeah, the team leader, Han, translated, explained, the manager was saying he'd never ever seen a student replicate his work so perfectly, especially not 800 loaves in a row.
Wow.
For them, it meant Ah Hsi had got the true transmission.
True transmission. And we should probably remind ourselves who this manager was. He wasn't just some guy.
Not at all. The source emphasizes this. Manager Jan Qi was a professor at Tokyo Baking University, a 3-time third-place winner in the world baking competition, a high-level consultant for the brand, with millions in funding for his R&D.
So world-class level.
Absolutely, world-class mastery. And Ah Hsi, who literally couldn't make bread a short time before.
Yeah.
Overnight, able to make bread exactly like his. The source says he basically achieved years of learning in that one night.
That's not just learning. That is transformation, like you said.
Mhm.
It just completely upends the usual ideas about apprenticeship, mastery, how long things should take.
It's just potential for skill acquisition. That's,
Yeah.
well, almost instantaneous under certain, perhaps very unusual conditions.
So after this,
Hmm.
this miracle, really, how did Ah Hsi feel? The source mentions an unspeakable emotion surged in his heart.
Yeah, he had this profound realization about the Tianmen experience. It wasn't just about learning the technique.
What was then?
He understood it as not just a technical initiation, but a spiritual contract from the depths of the universe.
It's a spiritual contract. What?
And it went even deeper. He felt he hadn't just learned how to make bread. He felt he had become bread itself.
Become bread itself. That's intense, total integration with the craft.
Mm-hmm. But then, almost right after hitting this incredible peak, this profound understanding, life threw another curveball.
What happened?
External pressure. His parents, they were really urging him strongly to come home. Their family business, that traditional Chinese medicine practice, the Siyao, they needed him. It was time for him to take over the family legacy.
Oh, man. So he finally achieves this impossible mastery in baking, has this deep spiritual experience with it, and now he has to choose between that and his family duty.
Exactly. The source describes him as just completely torn, tangled up between this incredible realized method he'd just received and the pull of family, what felt like destiny maybe, difficulty going against the call of kinship.
That's a heavy choice. What did he decide?
He chose family. The source says he resigned from Tuku Bread. He went home.
Wow.
It describes this as him embracing his another destined mission. He looked back on that whole time in Taichung, the cold room, the healing incident, the Tianmen as a soul transformation, an initiation.
A soul initiation that led him away from baking.
Paradoxically, yes. His conclusion, according to the source, was that true baking wasn't just labor, it was soul inheritance.
Soul inheritance.
And that nonverbal method, the Tianmen transmission, was incredibly potent. Silence is better than sound, or the unspoken is more powerful.
So the source frames his whole arc as going from an ordinary apprentice to an inheritor of light.
Right. Someone who blended skill and way, the way or path.
It's really not just a story about learning to bake, is it? It's about recognizing your path.
Your deeper path, yeah. Even if it diverges sharply from where you just found incredible success or had a profound experience.
So let's try to synthesize this. We've got the healing ability from his family background. We've got the sudden baking mastery from this mystical transmission. And then the choice to go back to the family practice. How does the source connect these dots? They seem so different.
Well, the source's reflections kind of pull it together. It points to his hands being central in both. Conduits for the healing energy, conduits for the baking skill.
Okay, the hands is the common tool.
Right. And in both cases, there's this theme of deep, maybe nonverbal transmission, the inherited family knowledge for the healing, and this spontaneous, instantaneous Tianmen thing for the baking.
So it suggests skill isn't always just about grinding it out, practicing for hours. It can be received.
That seems to be the core idea the source is exploring. It talks about some skills being passed through a resonance between souls.
Soul-to-soul resonance.
Yeah. And this idea of opening the Tianmen is presented almost like achieving a state of profound receptivity, where you can absorb wisdom rapidly, maybe directly from the universe, not just from human instruction.
And that connects to a certain way of being, not just a technique.
Exactly. The source suggests true learning involves basically, experiencing the vibration of each moment fully with your heart and soul. cultivating an inner state where technique isn't forced but flows naturally, like an inner light.
An inner light flowing from the heart. That's a beautiful way to put it. And there was that final principle the source mentioned that sort of sums it all up.
Yes. Okay, break that down.
Oh.
Skill can be transmitted. We saw that happen seemingly instantly. The way must be realized. That's the deeper path, the understanding that comes through experience, cultivation, maybe those challenges. The heart can connect. That seems key. The openness, the resonance, maybe the spiritual connection that allowed the transmission. All methods can enter. When the heart is open and connected, maybe any knowledge becomes accessible.
So in Ah Hsi's case, the skill was transmitted, but the way, his path, involved realizing it, connecting through his heart, and ultimately leading him back home.
Precisely. It challenges us to think about where real knowledge comes from. Is it just external teaching? Or is it also about internal realization, deep connection, maybe even spiritual openness?
Ah Hsi's story is just such a unique illustration of all this. How skills can show up unexpectedly. How your background, things you don't even think about, might prepare you for something totally unforeseen. And how knowledge might arrive in ways we just don't have categories for.
From uncertain apprentice to overnight master via mystical experience, then choosing a different path rooted in tradition and healing. It definitely makes you stop and think.
It really does. It prompts you to look beyond just the usual explanations for things like mastery or finding your purpose.
Absolutely. So maybe for you listening, what does that idea of true transmission look like in your own life, in your own learning? And where might your destined mission may be hinted at by strange experiences or talents you didn't expect? Where might that be calling you?